समझ नहीं आ रहा अपने सैलरी इंक्रीमेंट का क्या करूं।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स के एसआईपी का टॉप अप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
क्या समझ में नहीं आया।
बेटा इतना क्या सोच रहा है, अपने म्यूचुअल फंड्स का एसआईपी टॉपअप करा ले। दिस इज द राइट टाइम।
अब समझा।
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
After a long hiatus, something new has come up on the Pahalgam story. I'm saying I'm preferring Pahalgam to Op Sindoor story because Op Sindoor only happened because of Pahalgam. It followed Pahalgam. It was caused by Pahalgam. Now, Pahalgam, the attack there was carried out by an organization called TRF, the Resistance Front, something sounding as innocuous as that. They had issued a statement, first of all, claiming quote-unquote credit for this, then denying it a few days later, saying, no, we never did this. How could we do such a horrible thing? It's Indian intelligence which hacked our website and issued this on our behalf to give us a bad name. Nobody believed it. Definitely nobody believed it in India, but Pakistanis spread it. And because of that, many mythologies were sustained. And one of the big issues there was that the rest of the world opinion has not quite accepted yet that this was a terror attack carried out by a Pakistan-based organization. That situation has changed now, and how? Dramatically. Because you know what? What is international opinion or international acceptance or denial? When the big daddy speaks, and I use that word daddy deliberately because that's how Donald Trump has been referred to by Mark Rutte, the current Secretary General of NATO, the daddy, and in fact, White House also made a little meme about this. So when the big daddy speaks, which means when the US issues a statement, US State Department formal statement. So Marco Rubio, he's put out the State Department's statement. It's a very short statement. You can read it. You can read it on one side. On the other, maybe in larger type, we will have the text of the statement run on your screen as I am talking. What does this statement say? This statement says, besides other things, that one, TRF is the same as Lashkar-e-Taiba. There is no difference. And Lashkar-e-Taiba is a proscribed banned organization. It's a globally designated terrorist organization. In the US parlance, it is a foreign terrorist organization, FTO, and also STGT, which is specially designated global terrorist. Both these descriptions in this statement have now been extended to the resistance front as well. That is a big change, and you can see how and why there is so much welcome on the Indian side. Once you finish reading the State Department statement, I will also share with you our External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar's tweet welcoming this. That will give you a sense of what a big deal it is from the Indian point of view, because the criticism so far was that you blamed Pakistan without any evidence. Nobody knows what this TRF is. Lashkar-e-Taiba has not claimed credit. Even if TRF, whatever it is, did, they have withdrawn it. So this is very mysterious. Who knows who's done it? Probably it might have been the local people, if at all, who've done it. So all of that disinformation, the fog of that disinformation had threatened to drown the story, Now that's over. The US statement, short statement, also says, now they leave nothing to doubt. They say, Lashkar-e-Taiba. This is a front and proxy for Lashkar-e-Taiba, TRF, and it has carried out in Pahalgam the deadliest terror attack since 2008, that is 26/11 in 2008. They've also said in this short US statement that TRF is also responsible for several attacks on security forces, Indian security forces, including many in 2024. So once again, they've drawn the straight line. That is the straight line that Indian security establishment and Indian public opinion draw between LET and TRF. Now the State Department has put its stamp of approval or endorsement on that. In fact, in 2020, the first Indian reaction to the surfacing of TRF. Remember 2019, Pulwama happened, FATF action happened. Pakistan had banned then existing proxies or then existing manifestations of Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. It was around that time that TRF emerged because after all, for the Pakistani agencies, for the Pakistani establishment, jihad in Kashmir, quote unquote jihad in Kashmir, their idea of jihad in Kashmir is an ongoing process. It never stops. Nothing stops them. They go into a vacation once in a while when the pressure gets too much, but the work never stops. In 2020, General M.M. Naravane, Manoj Mukund Naravane, who was then our army chief. He's now our esteemed columnist. He was then the army chief, as a serving army chief. He said this resistance front, and I quote him, I would rather call it Terror Revival Front. So TRF. Now the US State Department has said exactly that this is just a front and proxy for Lashkar-e-Taiba. Rubio's statement also goes on to say that we are declaring it a foreign terrorist organization in our own national security interests, and also President Trump's call for justice for the Pahalgam attackers. So this connection with Pahalgam attack has also been drawn. This has had many implications. So I will tell you these implications now, and then I will quickly take you through some of these name changes, the name change game for both Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. What are the 4 things that this newsbreak does? Number 1, it takes away the denial from the Pakistanis. It denies the Pakistanis the choice of a denial, saying, we didn't do it. We don't know who did it. You can investigate. If you want, you can order, you can call for an impartial international investigation where we are willing to cooperate. Now, if TRF is LET is in Pakistan. And I have maintained for years now, I have maintained this for about 30 years now, starting with the cover story in India Today magazine, which was headlined, I think, Exporting Terror, where I said that these Lashkars are not autonomous organizations. They are also not non-state actors. You cannot call them non-state actors because they are not. They are special forces of the Pakistani army in Mufti. Special forces go out in uniform, special forces go out in Mufti. So they are special forces of the Pakistani army, in this case through ISI in Mufti. They are armed by them, they are trained by them, they are backed by them, they are operated by them, they are given orders by them. That's how this works. So first of all, the first impact of this change, this American statement, is that this denial is gone. This denial is over. So the Pakistanis have been denied the luxury of a denial. Plausible deniability, we don't know. Somebody did it. Terrible thing, we've condemned it. That will also make it difficult for the Europeans and others to keep on saying, while we condemn the Pahalgam attack and Pahalgam attackers who must be caught, we don't know who did it, because the US has now clearly and firmly positioned this in Pakistan, with a Pakistani organization that's familiar to everybody. Next, the ban on TRF by the Americans, its designation as an FTO, will force many other countries also to do the same. In fact, if this goes up to the UN now, as India will do, never mind the fact that Pakistanis this year head the Committee on Terror, and also for the year have the presidency of the UN Security Council. It's by rote, by the way. It's not something that happens by way of a great diplomatic achievement, but nevertheless, India will now move it. Somebody will now move it. Americans have to back it because they have now said so formally. It will become very difficult for most countries to block it, including for China, because in that case, if the Chinese have already let Lashkar-e-Taiba be designated a global terrorist organization by the UN, how do they block TRF from meeting the same fate? So this global ban now looks inevitable. And if the Chinese stop it, I think this will be a very major decision that they take. Unlikely that they will do such a thing, but you never know. Number three, this completely destroys this propaganda, which unfortunately some people in India had also begun to think about. They were whispering a little bit, but they were also thinking about it. And that had happened after Pulwama also. That is this a false flag operation? Pakistanis called it a false flag operation, that India had got it done to blame Pakistan and to start some trouble in Pakistan, to which we had said, that false flag operations are a reality, but there has to be a reason for a false flag operation. There was nothing. It's not as if nations don't have false flag operations. We told you that there was a false flag operation in 1971. That was the hijacking of an Indian Airlines Fokker Friendship aircraft to Lahore, following which Pakistan was denied overflight rights across India into its eastern wing, East Pakistan, which later that year became Bangladesh, right? But there is no indication, no evidence, no reason, no need for any such thing. This was a ludicrous propaganda. Even the talk of it sounded obscene and an insult to those whose families had suffered in this horrific attack. This statement now completely buries that idea. It was important that that idea is buried because that's been Pakistan government's official position. They have stated so at all levels. All their key functionaries, key leaders have made the same excuse. They've made the same charge against India. It's a typical case of Ulta Chor, Kotwal ko Nate. So that's the third point. One, the denial is gone. Second, prescription now comes in, a ban comes in. And if TRF is declared to be the same as Lashkar-e-Taiba, Pakistan also will not have any choice other than to ban it, because if they don't, then FATF will come back at their throats. And I will tell you the game that's gone on with FATF. And the fourth point is that it was in 2019-20. That's when the Pakistanis again tried to get the FATF off their throats. FATF, that watches terror financing, crime financing across the world, they had been placed on the grey list every now and then. I will give you the exact years when they were put on the list and taken off the list. They wanted now again to get off the list. That's how both Lashkar-e-Taiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed acquired new names. So Lashkar-e-Taiba became TRF. I told you the first mention formally was by General Naravane, because some incidents took place where, quote unquote, claims were made by an organization called TRF. Another organization came up at the same time, that is PAFF, People's Anti-Fascist Front. That was the new name for Jaish-e-Mohammed. Once again, note something. In both these names, PAFF and TRF, there was no mention of anything Islamic, because this was attempted to be an ironclad alibi, an ironclad cover to say that this has nothing to do with our jihadist forces or any jihadist forces. These could be your indigenous Kashmir Valley people and their organizations, and weapons are available to everybody. This cover is also now blown. So these are the four important consequences of what has happened today. Now that we know this, we can also go back and look at why did Asim Munir authorize this operation, because now it's very clear. If TRF is the same as Lashkar-e-Taiba, as we have known but now acknowledged and endorsed like this, TRF equals Lashkar-e-Taiba equals ISI equals Pakistani army and establishment, which means an operation of such sensitivity and of such obvious implications would have to be cleared right up there from then General Asim Munir's level. Now, why does Pakistan need to keep changing these names? And later I will also take you through some of these name changes over the years. So number one, you must understand that FATF, Pakistan, if FATF puts Pakistan on its grey list, that means a lot of the foreign fund flows, global financial organizations, IMF, World Bank, etc., they will all sit back and wait. Nobody will give money to a country which is on the FATF grey list, which means FATF cannot state that no terror financing, drug financing is taking place in this country. So Pakistan was put on the FATF grey list in 2008. That was the year of 26/11. They were removed from it in 2015 when it was generally thought that Pakistan had cleaned up its act. That is when Nawaz Sharif also comes into power. That's also around time Narendra Modi invites all the South Asian leaders, all chief executives to his swearing in. Then Narendra Modi makes a stopover, Nawaz Sharif's birthday, wedding in the family in Pakistan on his way back from Afghanistan. That was a quieter period for Pakistan. 2015, the yoke of FATF was lifted. It was, however, back in 2018 because the Pakistani establishment was again back to its usual stuff. 2018 it was back. 2022, after a lot of doing, they were again able to get off the grey list. It's after that that the IMF sanctioned this loan, money started coming in, and Pakistan was saved from a foreign exchange bankruptcy. It is for that reason that they've had to create many names for the same organizations, because FATF only looks at the existing organizations. That a new one comes up, initially for some time you can keep saying, you can pull the wool over people's eyes by saying ye nahi hai, kuch aur hai, hum jante nahi. Indians might have done it. In the course of time, when it's found out, then another ban comes your way. That is the risk that the Pakistanis run right now. Now the question is, why did the Pakistanis do it in Pahalgam? Now, first of all, who would authorize this in Pakistan? If TRF is the same as Lashkar, which is the same as ISI, then clearance for an operation like this would have to come from right from the top. That is from the desk of then General Army Chief, but then General Asim Munir. And what would he have wanted from this? So first of all, his crackdown on the most popular political force in Pakistan, his incarceration of Imran Khan, by far the most popular individual leader in Pakistan, that had brought Asim Munir a lot of popular opprobrium. His politics was broken. The government he had put in power had no real credibility. This was one way of changing the national mood. Because when you can create the hawa of a threat from India, then people of the country unite, and then they back the country's army. And who represents the country's army but the army chief himself? So from being a villain and being such a big hate figure, he suddenly became a hero. He became a hero. In the process, fringe benefit, he also got that 5th star. It was done under a new name, and while they slipped up in at least once issuing a statement blaming the claim or credit for this, the idea was that this will be a perfect terror attack. So it will not be traced to any organization or any individual. Nobody will be caught. No evidence will be found. Telephones were not used in this case, unlike in 2008. 2611, many other things were done. Similarly, a lot of spoofing was used. So the presumption was that nobody will be able to nail Pakistan on it. In the process, Pakistan will avoid international bans. It will also confuse attribution of the crime, and it will have the space to continue saying that this has been done by a grassroots movement, by grassroots militants, by native Kashmiri indigenous militants, and not by any foreigners. All that game right now is gone. Since we have the opportunity today, I will also tell you something about these name changes. Now, LET. Formally, LET was founded in 1987. However, its existence became public only in 1990. Now, think of that period. In 1987, Zia-ul Haq is still alive. The jihad against the Soviets is still on. By 1989, the Soviets have withdrawn. By 1990, Pakistanis have declared victory, although Zia is not there anymore. So look at Hafiz Saeed's own history. He was born on June 5, 1950, turned 75 just a couple of months back. But obviously to him, no 75-year rule applies. He will continue doing what he was doing. And he's got a bunch of second-rung leaders as well. He was a member of the Ahle Hadith movement, which is a Salafi movement. He is an educated person. He's sometimes called Professor Muhammad Hafiz Saeed. He genuinely was a professor. He had a postgraduate degree from Punjab University, Lahore, in a way my alma mater, but they split in 47. Our university is spelled with an A, Punjab spelled with an A. The Lahore has the original spelling, Punjab with a U. So Punjab University, he got a postgraduate degree and taught at the University of Engineering and Technology in Lahore. So what was he teaching in the University of Engineering and Technology in Lahore? He was teaching Islamic studies. He was indoctrinating people. In 1970s, he also went to King Saud University in Riyadh for further religious education and training. When he came back, Zia appointed him as a member of the Council of Islamic Ideology. That was the advisory council to the government which was committed to bringing in Nizam-e-Mustafa, or rule according to Islamic law in Pakistan. In 1970s and 80s, from late 70s to 80s, that is when the jihadist elements were rising against what was seen as the pro-communist government in Afghanistan. Hafiz Saeed went to Afghanistan and came in contact with Abdullah Azzam. Abdullah Azzam is a Palestinian Jordanian, or more apt to say Jordanian Palestinian. He was a prominent jihadist and also well-known mentor to Osama bin Laden. He operated from Peshawar. He went to Afghanistan often, to the so-called liberated areas then, but he operated from Peshawar. There were, in fact, 2 attempts on his life, because these were not nice guys on any side, and so Soviets were also operating. So first attempt he survived. Second attempt, in November of 1989, he was assassinated. Somebody detonated a huge bomb, a lot of RDX, near where his car was passing, and he was assassinated like that. On a visit to Pakistan in 1989, we also had the opportunity to meet him. So Abdullah Azzam also in a way became the mentor of Hafiz Saeed. In 1986, Abdullah Azzam plus Hafiz Saeed plus Zafar Iqbal, they got together and they founded an organization called Markaz-u-Dawa wal Irshad. I will tell you the meaning as we go along. This was part of the Jamiyat Ahle Hadith movement. Dawa, of course, stands for preaching and proselytization. In 1986, founded LET. ISI was party to the founding of LET, but first of all, initially LET was only operating as a small organization in Afghanistan with Abdullah Azzam and others. They shifted attention to India by 1990. That's when they came under the notice of Indian agencies and also international agencies. That's why if you check, even if you Google, you might see that Lashkar-e-Taiba was founded in 1990. Now, Lashkar-e-Taiba, you can say Army of the Pure or Army of the Righteous, but Taiba is also a name used for Medina. That was the Islamic idea of an ideal state that the Holy Prophet had set up. That is what Imran Khan was promising to make Pakistan of. And that is what Asim Munir actually believes Pakistan is. He believes that it's the second Medina. So Army of the Pure, Army of Taiba. That's how it started. Then after the ban, it was banned in 2002 after Parliament attack on 13th of December in India, and India's counter with Op Parakram. This was banned. It surfaced now as Jamaat-ud-Dawa, JUD, which they said is a charitable organization. LET is banned. We don't do any such stuff. But US and UN both designated Jamaat-ud-Dawa as synonymous with LET. Jamaat means organization. Dawa, I just told you, religious preaching and proselytization. Both these organizations, the mother organization, or from where they drew their allegiance, was Markaz-u-Dawa wal Irshad. Markaz is like the headquarters. It was in 1989 that Markaz-u-Dawa wal Irshad created 2 offshoots, a split into 2. One was Markaz-u-Dawa wal Irshad, which was doing preaching, charity, etc. And second was LET, which was to carry out armed operations. So first was to create the mood for jihad. The second was to implement the idea of jihad. Then it changed name again because it was banned again. Now it became Falah-e-Insaniyat Foundation. In this way, they took away any Islamic connection, FIF. This was banned in 2019. Those bans came up as Pakistan wanted once again to get out of the FATF grey list. At some point, it was also called Al-Madina, but all global organizations and all international powers, including the US and UN, said this Al-Madina organization is nothing but another name for FIF, which is nothing but Lashkar-e-Taiba by another name. For some time, it also became ISAR Foundation. Again, it was quickly discovered and acknowledged that ISAR Foundation was nothing but FIF, which was nothing but so and so, and ultimately LET. Then it became TRF. TRF is what we and the world is dealing with right now. In between, in various stages, it used some other names, Pahalgam Islam. Idara Khidmat-e-Khalq, etc., etc. Now, this has been such a clever organization that during Pakistan's natural tragedies, it comes out as a charity, does a lot of work, raises a lot of money, carries out charity work, and gets a lot of public opinion. 2005 Kashmir earthquake that killed nearly 73,000 people. Bulk of the relief work was carried out by Jamaat-ud-Dawa, which is you can call it a front for Lashkar-e-Taiba or the other way around. 2010, once again, lots of charity work carried out. So much so that Rajiv Shah, who was then heading the USAID operation there, he even visited their camp in Sakhar. 2011 floods again, Lashkar came out in its then current manifestations. 2022 floods also they came out, but then they were also noted for raising a lot of funds for jihad as well. Pakistan Interior Ministry, however, continued to insist that this is purely a charitable organization. And quite similarly, Jaish-e-Mohammed has changed its name many times, once again playing the same game of hide and seek with global opinion, with the US, with the UN, and most importantly, FATF. Jaish-e-Mohammed was founded by somebody much younger, born in 1968. That is Maulana Masood Azhar. It's gone through many names. After it was banned in 2002, Khudamul Islam, then Tehreek-ul Furqan, basically the movement of the virtuous, Tehreek-ul Furqan. Then at some point they said Afzal Guru Squad. So some of their actions were carried out by what was called as Afzal Guru Squad. Afzal Guru was convicted and then later hanged for the parliament attack. Jaish-e-Mohammed has more assets in Kashmir Valley than Lashkar-e-Taiba does. And remember, the Pulwama bus bombing was carried out by Jaish-e-Mohammed. Maulana Masood Azhar, he was one of the 11 children of a Maulvi Allah Baksh Shabir, who was also the headmaster of a school. He was a headmaster and a Deobandi cleric. However, his son, his most famous or infamous son, Masood Azhar, dropped out in class 8. From there, he went to Jamiat Ulum al-Islamiyah for higher Islamic education and then came out an alim. And alim means a scholar of Islam. By 1989, he had become an Islamic teacher as well. Then he joined Harkatul Ansar, which was an organization in Afghanistan. He went there, but he was physically not strong enough to pass the 40-day training course. What do you do if you are not physically very strong? Think about it, you become an editor. Jokes on me, all right. So what did Masood Azhar do? Because he wasn't strong enough to pass the 40-day trial to be a soldier for Harkatul Ansar in Afghanistan, he started editing 2 newspapers for it. One in Urdu, the other in Arabic. So the Urdu paper was Saade Mujahideen and the Arabic paper was Saute Kashmir. Then he traveled the world recruiting for jihad and also collecting money. By 1994, he had come to Kashmir to lead the quote-unquote jihad there himself. He was arrested, he was rotting in jail, and then subsequently what played out is a story we know well. There have been OTT serials on it, there have been movies on this. That was the IC-814 hijack. It was carried out by Jaish-e-Mohammed people. The main objective of the release, they also got some more people released, but that may have been partly a cover. Their main objective was to secure the release of Masood Azhar, and he since then has destabilized, has done terrible things in our country and has destabilized the region and brought it close to a war multiple times.